boy, this is a wreck. This is just a train wreck. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or it's 2 a.m. Go to bed already. This is Eagle Eyes on Tech. I am Eagle Falcon, live for the first time on YouTube, anyway. Been streaming on Twitch for a while, and for a while I mean a few months. But this is the first time we're doing a tech podcast actually live. More of an experiment, see how it goes, and we'll probably scratch the idea when it inevitably fails. Anyway, let's move on to what we got planned. For starters, the full Lenovo P lineup is now out. Before, some of it wasn't. Now all of it is. We've got 4 laptops. We've got the P40 Yoga, which is just, it's there. We have the P50S, which is the MacBook Pro clone. We got the P50, which is a real laptop. Then the P70, which is a real laptop on steroids. That's what you got. So let's start with the P40. While Lenovo's terrible thing just loads up. Oh my god, these edges. Anyway, it starts at $1,500, so it's not cheap. But again, it uses this folding hinge thing. I personally still think it's silly, but I am clearly in the minority because everyone keeps making these. Not just Lenovo, who made them first. But frickin' everyone now. HP, Dell, Acer probably, but I don't care because I don't pay attention to Acer. But anyway, what matters on ones like this are the tech specs. So, we need to find the specs. And they appear to just not be here, like at all. I swear, the last time I looked at this page, it said specs, and it's just not here. So I'm just going to assume it's bare bones, maybe an NVIDIA Quadro card if you're lucky, and that's about it. So we'll move on. P70S, there's no specs here either. Are there specs on any of these? So the P50S and the P40, which were the two last time I checked here on the podcast, had no price and no specs. Now they just have a price as configured. But the 50 and the 70, the two real laptops, actually have tech specs. What happens if I customize? Alright, here we get some specs. So, moving on, at the baseline you get a Core i7 6500U, so a dual core, I want to say that's a 2.6 question mark? Or no, that might be the 2.4. Up to a 3.1, but that's something I really hate that everyone's doing now, is putting what the turbo goes up to. Nobody ever gets the full turbo unless it's absolutely necessary. More than likely, you're going to feel the 2.4 almost the entire time, because the laptop's built to be running at the lowest possible clock speed it can. So, you've got that. You got a 14.1 full HD, so 1920 by 10. Oh no, that'd be 1366 by 768 screen on that. unless you go to the QHDs, which would be 1440 by 900. These are really testing my spec knowledge, I'll tell you what. And then you start at 8 gigs, it goes up to 16 gig, it's all low voltage memory, so you're not going to feel a whole lot of that. NVIDIA Quadro M500M, not bad. Not good, but not bad. Still better than the generic Iris Pro you're going to see in there. And 3-cell battery, 53 watt per hour, that's not that good. Honestly, you're better off getting the regular Yoga. I mean, yeah, you've got an ultra-low voltage processor, and you've got that little bit of a Quadro for a little bit of a boost, but come on. Really? I mean, really? Who is going to say, you know what, yes, I need this little bit of a Quadro with no battery life, with a dual-core processor, which the speed and core count is what's much more important in these rigs anyway. It's just, no. So, I would never do that. Definitely not. There's much better alternatives out there. You would be better for CAD getting an actual Yoga. Or, you know, get this. Forget the folding nonsense. Screw that. Get a real laptop. Which this one, we'll see how close this gets. Oh, wow. First one's offset trackpad. I don't get what's people saying, oh god, it's an offset trackpad. Have you ever tried typing on a laptop with a with an actual onset trackpad that has a numerical key? Like, normally when you type, and you can't really see where my hands are right now, but when you type with the keyboard, you are used on a laptop to it being center, and then the rest of the entire QWERTY keyboard being right above that. So as you're typing, just use your thumb and navigate. The few laptops that are out there that have the trackpad center of the keyboard, oh god, it throws you off. You move the mouse a little bit, then you go back and you type gibberish every time. The people who say, like, oh god, I want a centered keyboard on my, or a centered trackpad on with my laptop with a numerical keyboard, with the number pad and whatnot, they're idiots. They do not think it through. They just go, oh god, it's offset, it's ugly. It's called functionality, especially on a pro laptop like this, where functionality is king every single time. But anyway, we're going to move on to the processors. It starts at a Core i5 6300U, so they're ultra-low voltage processors again, which means these are all dual cores. They're all M500s again. Starting at 4 gigs of RAM? Ew. 500 gig hard drive at 7200 RPM. At least they gave you a 7200 RPM hard drive, unlike Apple, which if they... I don't even think they have a laptop anymore that has a hard drive in it, but if it does, it's like a 5400 or worse. Ugh. I don't know what... So, at least there's that, if you had to go for an absolute budget mobile workstation. And for $1,000, that's not too bad. You could probably do better by going to the consumer market, but you'd lose that wonderful ThinkPad durability. You go up to the $1,300 model, you get a Core i7, so 2400 or 2.4 gigahertz as opposed to 2.3 that Core i5 is going to have. And yeah, I know it says up to this and up to that. No, it's not. Stop kidding yourself. It only goes up to that, and it's never going to do that. You get a solid state now instead. 8 gigs of RAM. So, this one right here, this middle ground, or this 1300, that seems like the better one. These other ones, what you get for that, which is just... In fact, what is the difference between these two? Higher resolution panel is what it looks like. That's the full HD, which is 1920 by 1080. And then these are the 3K displays, which, I'm not sure what the big difference... Oh, I see the big difference. It is the hard drive, going from a 256 to a 512 solid state. Yeah, just this one. Let's be honest. That extra $200 for a 3K display, kind of have a hard time justifying that one. Despite what every single alternative going, more pixels, more better! Come on. Get real. Alright, moving on to a real laptop. A really real one. These are the ones that were really cool. And I'm just going to scroll on down to the options here, rather than look at their tech specs. These ones that actually have real quad-core processors in them. We've got that one. We've got that one there. I believe that one's a 2.8. And then that's the 3 gigahertz one. And again, having to try and pull this from memory is just annoying as heck. Full HD 1080p. The highest end model with the Xeon in it is a 3K. M1000, M1000, M2000. 8 gigs. So here's where you'd be on this. If you are thinking about getting this one here, that you need that Quadro power, that you need a laptop you can do some CAD on, first off, go see if you can lift a regular laptop. If you need that sleek and slimness, by all means, go for this one. That's what it's designed for. If you don't need it, by all means, the additional $40 to go from a dual-core ultra-low voltage to a quad-core with real power, with a real NVIDIA Quadro graphic card, it's just so much more worth it. Although, if you go this route, you get no hard drive. Ooh, I didn't notice that. I did not expect Lenovo to go that route. Ooh, I take back everything I just said. Unless you're kind of tech savvy and you know, like, oh, hey, look, I'll just go and get, you know, I'll go get my own hard drive and put it in. That's rough. That's really, really rough. But yeah, top tier for $2,400. That's a lot of power. And I'm willing to bet for $2,400 you might as well just go for a 17-inch. If you can handle that size. But let's take a look. Scrolling all the way down. And I realized I kept my good clicky mouse instead of the... Alright, so the top end price was $23.52. For $23.52 here is nothing. You're either 300 over or 300 over that. But in any case, all of these are also all quad-core Core i7s, starting at 17-inch 1920 by 1080, then immediately just jumps up to a 4K display at about the $3,000 price point. 8 gigs of RAM DDR4, all the way up to 16 gigs. Let me go back here for a minute, because I want to say these other ones said they were DDR3. Yeah, the two slimmer ones were DDR3 RAM. The P50 and the P70 are DDR4. Not too much of a difference, but still. And then all of these do have hard drives in them. And the difference is whether it's SATA 3 or PCIe based. I'm not sure how much of a difference you're really going to see. I think it's going to be the difference between a half a second to a quarter of a second. And load speeds there. All of them got fingerprint readers. The graphic cards, on the other hand, I do not see the options for graphic cards on these models, which is a little troubling. Yeah, so for these prices they have listed, it doesn't say what graphic card you get. And that's a really big problem I've got with them. Because the graphic card options they have are massive. You either get an M600, which is, you know, meh. An M3000, which is, that's about the equivalent of a GTX 960M. An M4000, which is the equivalent of a 970M. Or a M5000M, which of course is the equivalent of a 980M. So there's some serious power there, and of course they're all quadros. So you lose a little bit of the actual gaming performance, but not a lot. And in exchange, you trade that out for all of the wonderful caddy goodness that the Quadros offer. So that's what the ThinkPads have. I'm amazed, underline amazed, that it doesn't say anything in the purchasing area what graphic card it has. These could all have M600s for all you know. It's a shame. Oh, this does have 4 slots in it, so that's good. I'll get to later a problem I've got with some other ones, with some other laptops that they have no reason to justify it. But here's the thing to keep in mind, that the P70, that starts at 7.5 pounds. That's kind of heavy for a laptop. That's not as heavy as the old Precisions I was wielding for a while, which were at 9 pounds. It's nowhere close to my Alienware M18X that I kind of built up from nothing. That sucker weighed in at, God, with the brick and everything, it was like 18 pounds. Which, lug that thing around, and it takes its toll on you. The 15-inch weighs in at 5.6 pounds. That's actually really manageable. The only time you're going to have a problem with that is if you're going to like a convention or something like that where you're walking around for a long time. That could start weighing down on you, but not too bad. Of course, the P50S and the P40, the P40 Yoga, nothing about its weight. So, I got a problem with that. No idea how much they weigh. I'd assume the P50S is going to weigh in at about 3.7-ish. Don't quote me on that, but that's if I had to guess. 3.7-ish. It's about how much the MacBook Pro weighs. And then this one would weigh in most likely at 3.2. Again, very, very rough guesses, but let's take a trip away from Lenovo for a bit and move on to Apple. I'm sorry. I know I said I was going to try and veer away from Apple for a bit, but something I want to point out. First off, as we know from last time, and just from paying attention to tech in general, there's a few things that got added. There's new watch bands nobody wants. There is a new iPad, which is easily, in my opinion, the most exciting thing of the entire announcement. The new iPad Pro for $100 more than the regular iPad. It's actually quite a bit of an upgrade. I'm just not sure if it's $100 worth. And then the iPhone SE, which, that was about as exciting as this foam cone. Ooh. Who cares? But let's look at the other things here. The iMac still is on the 5th generation Broadwell chip. I don't even think it's on that. I think it's on Haswell, if I remember right. And I don't even know why I'm going to look it up, because it's not going to say. We're still in Haswell with this. We're on 4th generation chips. The Apple accessories, which... Oh my god. Just, what were you thinking, Apple? I mean, the keyboard I liked, but... these two I liked, but that mouse... Plug your mouse in here! Have fun using it then! With this huge cord sticking out... Anyway. The MacBook, which... I have yet to find anyone who likes that thing for anything other than its looks. The keyboard's crap. The price is way too high. It is less powerful than the iPad. Here's the thing. When your iPad Pro, the big 13-inch one, is better at productivity than your laptop, you've got a problem. Apple, you have a problem. This isn't working for you. You need to rethink it. The frickin' iPad Pro has a better keyboard. It beats it in benchmarks. And it's just, why? The MacBook Pro is still way overdue for an update. The MacBook Air, I don't know what you guys are going to do with it. I wish it would stick around because there's actually horsepower in the MacBook Air, unlike the MacBook, which has pretty much all the horsepower of this screwdriver. And the Mac Mini is just forgotten. But the other thing that really worries me, and I pointed this out last time, the iPod button is gone. It's still not there. You want to get an iPod from the online Apple Store? You have to dig for it. You have to search for it. I still haven't gotten a chance to go out to my local Apple Store and see if they're still selling iPods, but my God, that's going away. And I seriously doubt that a lot of the people like at work are going to be willing to shell out $400 for the cheapest iPhone you can just to put 16 gigs of music on there. I'm sorry, that's the maximum storage. I meant 12 gigs of music because the other 4 gigs are lost to formatting in the OS. It's kind of a shame. I mean, don't you remember all the beautiful things that Apple used to make? Now it's just bland. It's been done. They're not innovating on their own looks. The most inventive thing they've done was this Mac Pro, and it was the one product category in all of existence that you don't care what the Mac Pro looks like. The Mac Pro looked like a cheese grater, for crying out loud. Nobody bought the Mac Pro for its looks, and yet here we went and turned it into a trash can with an air turbine in it, just to make it less of a professional machine, and my browser is freaking out. Oh my God. But then that brings me to HP. Oh, HP. I didn't know you had it in you. I gotta say. So, HP brought out the HP Spectre. It's a product name that they've used quite a bit in the past, but they're touting it as the world's thinnest laptop. And I think it's actually like the Spectre 11 or something like that. It's like it's got a number compared to whatever its screen size is. And I couldn't think of what the heck the screen size was, just because you look at this thing and go, oh, it's beautiful. For those of you who are listening and not watching, it's got this beautiful matte charcoal finish on the lid with this kind of golden HP logo in there that's very artistic in the way it's done. It's just vertical lines, but you can still clearly tell it's HP. The hinges are, I think they said it's like piston powered, these little small metallic with this kind of golden-esque color. It's more like a bronzish. I don't know. It just looks so good. All the ports are in the back. It's USB Type-C powered. You got 2 USB Thunderbolt 3s, which is beneficial for something I'll get to later. It's just, if I was to get a laptop to go and sit in a coffee shop and just have people go, wow, over, it used to be a MacBook Pro. Or it used to be a MacBook Air. This is the laptop I'd pick now. If you want just looks, if you want to be impressive at a meeting, it's this laptop. And the best part is it actually uses a real operating system. I'm sorry, Apple fans, I had to go there. Love for all of you. It's just gorgeous. It's so beautiful. And the thing is thin. They claim it's the thinnest laptop in the world, considering the fact that the last time they said they were the most anything out of anything, I went through and proved them so wrong it's not even funny. I don't know if this actually is the thinnest laptop, but God. I'll be angry at that later. It's right now at 10.4 millimeters. If anyone can go prove to me that the MacBook whatever is thinner, then props to you. I have no proof. Backlit keyboard and glass trackpad. Edge-to-edge Corning Gorilla Glass over the screen, which is at 13 inches. We know of a screen size. A piston hinge design. In fact, I'm just going to play the video from their site real quick. Just listen in as it loads. Terrible accent, it's not loading. Is it? Yes? No? Yes? I don't know. But in any case. Okay, it's not... Okay, it's nothing with any audio. It just shows how the hinge works. It's just this metal piece that kind of just folds in on itself, and there's like a metal piston on the inside. I guess I'm going to play it again so I can describe it better. There's like a section that just holds it in place, and then it just locks it in either two positions. So that's nice. It looks much cooler than it actually is. And then they also introduce what's called HP's unique approach to cooling. This is something that irritates me. So their breakthrough in cooling is called the hyperbaric cooling system. Here we go again. It's buzzword central in here. It actually draws cool air in and directs it over the processor to keep things running at peak performance. It doesn't just push heat out of the machine. HP, I hate to break it to you. Other machines have done this. My desktop's doing it right now, in fact. Surprise! My laptop does it. I've seen plenty of laptops from Asus do this since 2006. This is not a breakthrough. This is just... We wanted to keep everything in this small contained section and didn't want to put the fan right there. But I mean, props to you, because you got this to work. But it's not revolutionary, don't kid yourself. It just simply isn't. I mean, the performance specs, it runs Windows 10. It's a PCI Express-based SSD up to 512 gigabytes. You know, pretty much exactly what you'd expect. The processors, it's a 6th generation Core I processor, which tells me literally nothing other than, you know, it's not a Core M. Thank God for that. Or an Atom. Got 8 gigs of RAM. We got 2x2 wireless antenna in there, so pretty standard stuff. And USB Type-C. It comes with HP Audio Boost, which means nothing. It has a full HD IPS display, which, you know, that's nice. Not important, but nice. Bang & Olufsen audio, which, good for you. Up to 9 hours of battery life, they claim. Paired with this, that, and blah, 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 blah. Okay, so let's scroll back to the top. Let's see if I can find some specs, and I cannot. So, we are left in the dark as far as specs. So I don't know what it's got. I would assume it's an ultra-low voltage processor. So, dual cores... You know, most likely Core i3, Core i5. I can't... Maybe a Core i7. The Core i7 still go up to only like 15 watts, so they could pull it off. But it's going to be nothing to really brag home about. But I'll get to what's unique about that in a bit. First, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back. Welcome back, Eagle Eyes on Tech. I am Eagle Falcon. So, while I was going through and researching what's going on out there, I came across this. How many of you have ever heard of Auroras? I didn't. At first, I thought it was the brand of another manufacturer. And part of me still wonders that. I'm still not 100% certain, but my god, do they have some bold claims. So I went through and just looked through their laptops, because that's pretty much all they sell, is either laptops, some gaming keyboards, which look exactly like Razer's stuff, mice, which looks like, oh my god, what is that? I'm afraid it's going to transform into a robot, whatever the hell that is. It's got, like, toggle switches, oh, whatever. Got some backpacks, support, news, blah, 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 blah. So it's basically the laptops is pretty much the only thing that they really have that's interesting. And they have a 13-inch, a 15-inch, and a 17-inch. So I'm going to start with the 13-inch. First off, it's a 13.9-inch laptop. That's not a 13-inch. That's a 14-inch. You just said it that way to make you seem better than you actually are. Nice try. Anyway, so this 14-inch laptop, it's using the quote the latest 6th gen Intel Core i7 processor, which, yay. We'll see in a minute if that's ultra low voltage or not. Running an NVIDIA GTX 970M. That's actually really nice. The fact that that sucker can hold a 970. Because every single gaming laptop right now is settling for a 960, which is kind of middle ground. The 970, you're putting yourself an edge up. You got 1300 by 1800 resolution. That's nice. Blazing fast M2 PCI Express SSD. You know, nice and fast. USB Type-C, quality of life upgraded. That is a buzzword if I ever heard one. That means nothing. Abso-freaking-lutely nothing. Good job. DDR4, ultimate memory up to 32 gigabytes. Ultimate memory. Guys, it's RAM. Come on. Quit fooling around. It's just RAM. We're not in the day and age where you could overclock your RAM and get some performance boost out of it. It's just RAM. And HDMI 2.0, true 4K ultra. Oh my god. So, I have low hopes for this right off the bat, just with the fact it is filled with so many buzzwords. World's most powerful 13.9-inch laptop. You're also the world's only 13.9-inch laptop, because everyone else just goes, fuck it, it's a 14-inch. Come on. Come on. Now, granted, for gaming, you probably are the best 14-inch laptop, because nobody puts a GTX 970M in anymore. And then, you know, they've got all this other stuff. They show, you know, this is our peak performance, and they compare it to their previous models or other graphic cards. Okay. Guess what? You're right. The 970M is more powerful than the 870M. Congratulations. God. 6th generation core, more time, more save, more game. Oh my god. Like, you just go through this and you just see these nice, wonderful graphics of, does it even matter? And I do love the fact they're going to compare the memory speed of DDR4 is 17 gigabits per second, whereas the old DDR3 is only 12 gigabits per second. Guess what? You're not going to notice the difference between 90% of light speed and 92% of light speed. It's still stupid fast. This is not the dark ages where we're using PC 100 RAM and the frickin' connection to the hard drive might be faster than the RAM. And then USB Type 3, it says USB Type-C, quality of life upgraded. And the paragraph under there is just, quote, "It is common to turn USB a few times before it fits, but those days are over with the USB 3.1 Type-C. The Type-C connector is universal, making connecting via USB no longer a chore. Not only is it the easiest to connect, it's fast. 3.1 is twice the throughput of 3.0, transferring 100 gigabits in as little as 80 seconds, though greatly improved data speeds and pluggability, the USB 3.1... Here's the thing, if you're saying that's a quality of life upgrade, let me tell you something. What if I want to use my flash drive? I've got a USB 3.0 flash drive over there that's, God, it's like 256 gigs or something stupid high like that. What if I don't want to use that on this? I'm screwed. Because of Type-C, not a standard. I gotta go get a dongle now and deal with dongles. And say the word dongle over and over again. That's not a quality of life upgrade, that's a what am I doing upgrade. And then they have a paragraph literally saying what HDMI does. And they have an ad here, which they try to disguise as a feature of the laptop for XSplit Gamecaster. OBS for life. They have, and now they're showing graphics to show, did you know that 4K is better than 2K? Oh my frickin' god. I'll give them credit. This is so Apple-esque, it's not even funny. Even to the point of saying, super thin and lightweight, a gaming milestone. Now there is one nice feature about this thing I can't hate on. The power supply does have a USB jack on it for charging. We really do need more of those. They even see, this is where our world of laptops has gone to, where they have a page here advertising the fact they use standard scissor switches in their keyboards. How gross is that? That we're now thankful for having scissor switches in our keyboards? That's like basic keyboard stuff. I mean, for those of you who don't know, if you have a standard keyboard and you can feel your keys going down quite a bit, you have scissor switches. You like that feel, right? Have you ever used any of these newer keyboards that it's just like, oh, it goes down, it's like typing on paper. It has a little bit of give, but we're now advertising scissor switches! And the worst part is, I'm glad they do it because of this crap. And moving on. There's a macro image for macro keys. Nobody uses macro keys. Moving on. They're advertising the Killer Land, which does nothing. And system gauges. They advertise soft system gauges inside the OS. Oh, you could not be any gamer than this. So, what's the real specs? I mean, it basically doesn't tell you much. It does tell you that, there's 2 slots in here. You can have either 8 or 16 gigs per slot, max of 32. Shows you the chipset. Shows you got the Intel HD 5530 and the 970 in there to support with Optimus. The CPU is a real mobile processor. It is the 6700HQ, which is a 2.6 gigahertz quad-core processor. Finally. Backlit keyboard, blah, 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 and it just goes on. The weight is 1.6 kilograms, and I am too tired to figure out what that is in pounds. More than likely about 4 pounds. Don't quote me on that, though. But when looking at the gallery for this thing, you know what this reminds me of? First off, the angular screen. It starts off kind of flat at the bottom, goes up, and then comes to a slight point like the roof of a house at the top. And it reminds me a lot of the current generation Alienware laptops in that regard. But then you look at the outside. This seemingly do-nothing bulge in the back. The two vents on either side of the laptop. Does it look familiar? It kind of should. If you've ever looked at gaming laptops before, it's the Asus ROG. Like, its design is just blatantly stolen from the ROG series, the Republic of Gamers series from Asus. Like, they're not even being subtle about it. It really is. So, how much does this thing cost? Well, I could not find the one with 6th generation chips in it. But if it's anything like the previous generation one, the previous generation ran on a 4th generation one, and that was $1,700. And this was after, quote, saving $1,000. This is not cheap. And really, when push comes to shove, if you're looking for a really flashy laptop, this is not it. It is just gray everywhere. And if you think that's like, oh, that's the previous generation, no, look, just go back. It's the same thing. The only thing they add is that they have their little eagle head that makes me feel like it's actually from Falcon Northwest. So, let's move on to the 15-inch. It's basically the same thing. Most powerful 15-inch laptop. Guess what? It's not. Actually, I think it ties. Because I know some 15-inches that have 980s in them. And that's pretty much the only thing this thing's got going for it. It's a 15-inch laptop. It's got a numerical keypad. And it's got the same processor, you know, the 6700 HQ. Up to 64 gigs of RAM with 4 slots. And it's got a 980 and a 530. Supports 4 storage systems. You've got one 2.5-inch drive in there, and 3 M2 slots in there. So you can do some quirky rating with the M2s. If you want to just get like 3 super cheap M2s and then RAID 5 them together, and get a super SSD going there, you got that going for you. And it's basically just like its 14-inch cousin. Though it weighs a lot more at 2.5 kilograms, which is probably around 5 pounds. Now, looking online, I only found the current model. I lied. I didn't realize that the other one said that it was the 5th generation. So the 6th generation one, 2.6, all that jazz. $2,299, $2,300 for it, and that gets you the 2.6 gigahertz of 5, blah, 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 blah. Not cheap again, but not the worst in the gaming world. But again, not flashy either. And its looks. Let me go back to the gallery. There's a few things I want to point out about this particular one compared to its 14-inch cousin. First off, once again, dead bulge on the back, twin vents. Come on. It's Asus ROG, still. Got some ports on the back. This one, however, has some vents on the side as well. And there's less air intake. No, there's the same air intake on the bottom. I lied. I thought those were speakers. That's clear. No, those might be speakers. But I missed this before. So they definitely add a lot more cooling space to manage that 980. So that brings me to the 17-inch. The world's most powerful 17.3-inch laptop. This, I know, is incorrect. This is a lie. This is not the world's most powerful 17.3-inch laptop. How do I know? I'll get to that in a minute. But in any case, this is actually much more interesting in the fact of its setup. So let's just jump to the specifications, because I don't care about all the wonderful gimmicky buzzwords and all that jazz. We're using a more powerful processor this time. Core i7 6820 HK. Wait, why is it an H? I mean, it's a 6-core, is it? 2.7 gigahertz. I'll get back to the core count in a minute. Pretty sure it's a quad-core. I missed that it was an H before. But in any case, 1920 by 1080, up to 64 gigs of RAM with 4 slots. Your graphic options are either a GTX 970M in SLI or a 980. You can pick between the two. Both of them are mobile, not the full-size 980. Storage, you've got 3 M2 slots, just like the 15-inch and a 2.5-inch. Pretty much the extra space is being used to be able to hold another graphic card. And the official on the core count is that it is a quad-core chip, not a 6-core chip. I don't know why the H is there then. I don't know. The adapter is a 230-watt adapter. Yeah, I think you can get away with that. And blah, blah, blah. Nothing real surprising there. 3.2 kilograms, most likely a 7-pound laptop. Now, how much does that one cost? I could not find the base model. I found a special generation with camo. That one is at $3,000. And that's with the 970 SLI. Oh, it only comes with the 970 SLI. Okay, so this... Whoever put this up, I'm not sure who this is sold by through Newegg. I'm getting all the prices from Newegg. The guy who's selling this is through Newegg. Wow. I'm still going to blame Auroras, because I have a hard time believing that Newegg's that incompetent to... Because they're saying there's like a... Oh, that is weird. So there's a lot of weirdness with the page, but, yeah, the 13-inch only has the 970M option. So that's confusing as all hell. And you're thinking, but wait, isn't one 980 better than two 970s? Well, you look at the benchmarks, and actually, you can look here, it's actually quite a bit. It looks like about 3% faster than... In fact, actually, no, it's actually even worse than that, because the 980 is not even showing. It's comparing it to the straight-up 980M. So, I take that back. It could be. It might be faster than that. But here's the thing is that by going with the SLI version, you run into a lot of instability with that. Anytime you use multiple graphic cards, you get much more performance, you get a lot more anti-aliasing, you can do a lot more, but in order to do that, you run into, like, micro pauses and that sort of stuff. But in any case, I'm going to take a quick break. It'll be our last one, and then we'll finish off with what's going on with EVGA, Razer, and Alienware. We'll be right back, guys. Welcome back, Eagle Eyes on Tech. I am Eagle Falcon. So, a while back, I found out that EVGA was working on a 17-inch laptop. This thing, first off, who would have thought, of all people, EVGA, a laptop? Really? Who asked for that? Well, naturally, yeah. What's so special about the EVGA laptop? Well, like anything EVGA does, it can be overclocked to no end. And that's pretty much the big thing with it. You can talk about its design, you can talk about the UI design, whatever. It's basically a high-powered laptop, and everything can be overclocked on it. You want to overclock the graphic card? Yeah, sure, whatever. You want to overclock the CPU? Whatever. You want to overclock the RAM? That's stupid, but whatever. Let's overclock the RAM. Let's go faster than the speed of light on RAM. It's just made of so much silly, and I love every moment of this thing. It's just... Yeah, and everything with this thing is just to make it stupid easy. And we're going to see down the road when people get a hold of this thing just how overclockable it can be without setting itself on fire. And hopefully it can be pulled off, but there's still no price on this. It's supposed to be shipping out in mid-April, and then people will start doing stress tests on this, and I can't wait to see how many of them survive and how many of them don't. But in any case, moving on to Razer. So Razer recently also updated their laptop line. First off, you have their low end, which they introduced at CES, and I could not be more miffed at how Engadget at CES just fawned over this thing. It's so innovative, such a powerful gaming laptop. It's garbage for gaming on its own. It's still a dual-core, ultra-low voltage processor with Intel HD graphic cards. You are better off gaming on a MacBook Air. The only redeeming factor of this laptop is the fact that its keyboard lights up in all sorts of colors to satisfy your inner nerdiness. And then the Razer Core, which I apparently don't have a picture of. The Razer Core, for those of you who don't know, it's basically the size of a small desktop, and it plugs into the laptop via Thunderbolt, and it'll let that computer use the graphic card that's in that core. And that's basically all that's in there, is just a desktop-grade graphic card. And while that's really nice and really cool, originally I reported that it's still not going to work with it. Or that's not going to work with other laptops. It's going to be just for it. I was wrong. They showed off the platform they were using, and in fact it is an open platform that other manufacturers are going to be using. In fact, right now, that open platform unfortunately only supports AMD graphic cards. NVIDIA's trying to get on board. I wish them all the luck. And I really hope so, because the last thing I need is for AMD to keep themselves alive by not actually making good products, by just saying, we're the only ones that work. And that would just be, that'd be gross. I really hope that doesn't happen. But let's just go for a minute and talk about what you get with this laptop. You get, for these specs, a 2560 by 1440 screen resolution on a 12.5-inch screen, which is respectable. That's well over what you need, so no problem there. A dual-core Core i7 processor, downclocked for power saving. A stock Intel HD graphic card, 8 gigabytes of LPDDR3, which means it's soldered in. If that RAM goes bad, you are hosed. USB Thunderbolt 3, as well as some actual standard USB ports. So unlike the HP Spectre I was showing off earlier, you actually do have some standard USB ports, so your old flash drives will still work. And also, unlike the Aurorus laptops we were talking about earlier, you still have full size that. You get that for $1,000. That's not bad, honestly. I mean, just to be honest for a minute, $1,000 for that, that's respectable. You're getting a decent ultra-thin laptop for that. But the thing is that when you start going up in capacity, 1,200, that's a little high. Getting up to that Ultra HD screen, that's 1,400 now. And then for the highest capacity, $1,600 for a laptop that is supposed to be a gaming laptop that, underline, cannot game. You cannot game on this laptop alone. I want to stress that here. This isn't a gaming laptop from a gaming company. It just isn't. But moving on to what is. The new standard Razer Blade, which still has none of the features that made the original... The original Razer Blade, if you don't know, is what's now called the Razer Blade Pro, and the sole reason the Razer Blade was introduced was because of this adaptive LCD screen under a touchpad that you could make do whatever you want. Show specs, show the time, show whatever. The Razer Blade has none of that. It's just a thin laptop. So, what does this thin laptop have? It's a 14-inch laptop, not bad. GTX 970, again, welcome edition. About time. We have an Intel Core i7 6700HQ, which is a quad-core graphic card. Or quad-core processor, not graphic card, I'm sorry. The graphic card's also well over quad-core, if you know anything about how graphic cards work. 16 gigs of RAM. And nothing else that's really important. A lot of buzzwords and whatnot. So, the starting price for that, for a 256 gig hard drive, is $2,000. Compare that to the Aurorus at $1,700. For basically the same laptop, except the Razer one looks slicker. You bump that up to a 512 gig hard drive, or SSD I should say, and it's at $2,200. Now, the big thing with this one is that with the new update, now it does support the Razer Core, which, hooray! $300 part. But then again, just about anything would support it, including that HP Spectre we showed. Because we now found out the Razer Core actually works on an open platform. So that being said, let's look at the final one in Razer's lineup, the new Razer Blade Pro. Somehow, for whatever reason, this got an update without getting an update. Because we're still on a 960M. We're still on 4th generation processors. It's just... Yeah, this is the old laptop. So I don't know how this is the new Razer Blade Pro. I just don't get it. And it starts at $2,500. Just save your money, don't get it. Don't invest in this. Oh, that's just a train wreck. But let's move on for a minute and finally finish up at Alienware. So when going through all of my rounds and whatnot, it's been a while since I actually looked at Alienware, so I'm not sure when this happened. But once again, for like the second or third time now, the Alienware 18 is gone. The most flippin' bad-ass laptop. Alienware is the first one to make an 18-inch laptop, and it's gone. Again. But everything else basically is the same. We've still got, you know, the dual-core Alienware 13, which has none of the lights that all the other ones have, which is the sole reason you get an Alienware. The lights are gone on this one, except on the lid. Okay, it's still a dual-core laptop. It's still a 960M. Here's a pro tip, kids. If you're thinking of an Alienware 13, stop. Just stop. You're not getting anything from that. Either save up and get an Alienware 15 and be happier forever, or if you want to stick in the same family, go and get the Dell Inspiron 7000. It's $200 cheaper and is more laptop. Still. It still is. But moving on to the 15. 15 is still respectable. Starting at a quad-core 6300 HQ, which doesn't show its clock speed, which is infuriating. I want to say it's a 2.3. Can be either Windows 8 or Windows 10. 8 gigs of RAM. DDR4 on that guy. 2 memory slots, and your usual allotment starting at a GTX 965, going to a 980. Or you could wonder what Fire looks like and get a AMD Radeon M395X and get the performance of a 970 and the heat of a furnace. I also love how that's only an option on the 15-inch. If you want to do that on a 17-inch, they're like, no, stop being stupid, don't do that. I don't get it. I just don't. And then you just go through the storage options. You can get an SSD to boot on the M2 bus. You can get a 3.5-inch one on the SATA bus. All that jazz, blah, 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 blah. Pretty standard gaming laptop stuff. Here's the point I want to get to. The RAM slots on the 15 and the 17 are both 2! 2! Lenovo's ThinkPads did this better. Come on, guys. Are you trying anymore or not? And there's no difference between the 15 and the 17. The 15 can just get weaker, but the cooling systems are exactly the same. It's 2 fans on opposite sides of the thing blowing air out. There's no difference. And it still just blows me away that the company that keeps saying that used to find themselves on the barrier of, we push the limits, we always make the strongest everything, the most powerful this in the universe, the most powerful that, and the freaking 18-inch laptop is gone. No trace, no words, and it's just gone. And if their excuse was, well, it wasn't selling well, maybe you should have, updated it. I know plenty of people are wondering, well, when's Alienware going to bring the 18-inch up into the 6th generation world? Well, apparently never, because now it's gone. Forever. The end. So, what's going on the desktop side? Well, the Steam Machine is out, and that starts at $450, which is a little bit more than an Xbox One. But it has an Intel Core i7 4785T. Now, you might be asking, Eagle, what the heck is a 4785T? And I'd say, that's a very good question. Let's take a look. Well, it's a quad-core processor. It's 35 watts. It's 2.2 gigahertz. And I don't know what generation it's on. Oh God. It's 2 years old. So it's on the Haswell architecture. I don't know why that hasn't gone up to anything more modern. Just gonna ignore that, I guess. It's running SteamOS. It's got a custom GTX GPU at 2 gigabytes. It's a GTX 750 Ti. Everyone's confirmed this. Alienware Alpha, basically it's going to be the same thing, except for $50 more, you get a keyboard and mouse in Windows 10. So that's how much Dell charges for Windows 10. Then the Alienware X51, I talked about before, it's still weird that it, first off, A, got a real cooling system, and then B, has an optional graphics amplifier, which I find equally stupid because they managed to get a GTX 970 in there. And the sole reason they got a 970 in there is because that's the bare minimum you need to do VR and not vomit. For those who don't understand how VR works, in order to do VR with any decent amount of graphics that are not like cel shading cartoons, you need stupid, and I mean stupid high-powered gaming rig. Because you need to stream it at 90 frames per second, which is extremely hard. And there cannot be any frame drops. If there's any frame drops, your eyes interpret it weird, and you start feeling motion sick. As what your eyes expect don't match up with what happens, and that's what causes that. You start feeling ill. So you need all the power. And a 970 is basically what you need. My 780 will do it, because it's basically the same thing, except my 780 takes up more power. But you definitely need a lot of horsepower. And that's why they're just like, oh, let's cram a 970 in there. So if you can cram a 970 in there, why in the hell does it need to be compatible with a graphics amplifier? It can fit a full-size card in there. So come on and make up your mind, guys. Come on. And then, of course, the Alienware Area 51. I'm pretty sure I talked about this before. It runs on the 2011 version 3 sockets. It's up to an 8-core system. And if you're even contemplating getting this thing, don't email me and I will talk you through how to make this thing on the cheap. Because it's basically just a hand-built system. If you want the pyramid design, first off, it better be just because of the looks. Because if you want it because you think it cools better, I can still do better. I can do so much better. And maybe one day, if there's enough requests, I'll talk about that more. It's just, yeah. Just making your thing shaped like a triangle does not make it cool better. No matter who you are. But that's going to be it for today. If you got any questions, make sure to email me at eaglefalcontech@gmail.com. I think this went well. We're going to see how everything recorded after we're done. But that's going to be it for me. Take care, everyone, and rest well. Seriously, everyone, rest well and take it easy. It's a rough world out there. Good night, everyone.